Hey crafters, just a reminder, this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and should not be considered advice.
The views and opinions expressed are our own, and do not represent those of any company or business we currently work with, are associated with, or have worked with in the past. Thanks for tuning in to the Futurecraft podcast. Let's get it started.
Hey there, welcome to the Futurecraft GTM podcast, where we're exploring how AI is changing all things go-to-market, from awareness to loyalty and everything in between. I'm Ken Roden, one of your guides on this exciting new journey.
I'm Erin Mills, your other co-host, and together we're here to unpack the future of AI and go-to-market. We're going to share some best practices, how-tos, and interview industry leaders and pioneers who are paving the way in AI and go-to-market. All right, Ken, so how are you paving the way this week?
I'm a big baker, and Sundays we bake in our house. I am looking for new recipes all the time. But one of the challenges I have is sometimes those recipes don't have every detail you need to make the recipe. It might be a temperature thing. It might be the tools I have. Anyway, I always stumble into something. So what I've done is I've created a custom GPT. It's called Idiot Proof Bake Buddy. And what it does is I put the recipe in. It will then lay out the ingredients by the aisle of the grocery store. So where I walk through the grocery store, I need to pick up the things. And then it will tell me things that I need to prep. So it's like, before you go to the grocery store, you can do these things. When you come back, make sure you preheat the oven, and then make sure you've got your butter set out. And so what this does is it prevents me from being an idiot and messing up a recipe or not catching some subtle point that was maybe made in the instructions. So it has been a huge lifesaver for me, and my partner's very happy with the results because he gets to have baked goods that actually taste good.
And those baked goods are pretty phenomenal. I didn't know that you were using GPT, but now I know why that baking has improved so much. So that's exciting.
I owe GPT a lot, and baking's one of them.
Speaking of GPTs, my tip this week is maybe controversial, but I think will help our listeners quite a bit. Let's say I really like your GPT and I want to build something similar, but maybe just a little different for my own personal use. Obviously, you want to make sure to give any creator credit. If you're doing external stuff, I may want to do something more about grilling because I'm not as good at the grill. So I can ask your GPT to give me the instructions on creating that GPT. And it will. You can also get links and things like that as feeding its knowledge base. Another example of going a little meta with GPT and asking it to recreate something for you that you can then recreate for yourself.
I really like that. Do you have any tips on how you went about setting that up? If I want to steal that idea from you, how I would do it?
Give me the instructions of how I'd recreate you. You can go deeper and ask for the knowledge base, but it depends on what you're interested in creating. If the GPT is exactly what I want, I'll use the original creators that's available on the GPT store. But a lot of times I want something a little more custom to what I'm doing. And so then being able to get those instructions and edit them to create my own GPT is what I do. I just start by asking.
Yeah, it's a great call. It is community, and we are able to draw from things. And you're right. If I find a GPT that I really like from someone, I keep using it. I use quite a few of yours, but it is sometimes more about personalizing it, like my grocery and baking guide, because I got to idiot proof it.
But not only that, I might not have the same store that you have on the East Coast. So
yeah,
different locations. All right. Speaking about being creative with ways to use AI, who do we have today?
We have one of the most creative people I know using AI. His name's Jonathan Carver. Some people call him Coach K. He is a university instructor. He is the head of growth for Momentum.io, as well as CEO of GTM AI Academy. So pretty well known, probably to a lot of our listeners. And he's going to come talk to us about all of those things for our next session.
Great. Can't wait to talk to him.
All right, and we're back. Today we've got Jonathan Carver. You've done so many different things. Can you introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Jonathan Carver. Some people call me Coach. Long story short, I was at a startup where there's 20 of us in a small office and 10 of us were named John. They got tired of all of us responding to John. And so the guy was like, hey, you're the coach of the team. And I was the sales coach. And he was like, okay, you're going to be Coach K because no one can say your last name. You're the Coach K. And then ever since then, it's stuck. I'm currently the head of GTM Growth at Momentum, a Series A startup and revenue orchestration platform. I've been running the GTM AI Academy for 3 years now. and recently co-founded the AI Business Network with a friend of mine, which is more broad for leaders in business across finance and legal. Besides that, I advise people, I talk to people all the time about AI. I teach a beginner's class at Bryant University at night. I live, breathe, eat, sleep AI all the time, every day. So love it. And I'm really a big fan of applying it to go-to-market.
Thinking about the breadth of the work that you've done, you've spent the last few years helping go-to-market teams use AI in practical ways. From your perspective, what's actually changing inside go-to-market teams right now from a tech level, but also how work's getting done?
Oh man, that's a large question. I think right now, people in general, they're feeling pressure from two different ways. One is you see things like from Shopify CEOs saying, we won't hire unless we can find out for sure if AI can do it or not, which is a fascinating thing. And then I have a friend of mine who's in another larger organization comparable to Shopify, and her boss said the same thing, except they also said, you need to learn how to use AI, but we're not giving you tools. We're not giving you time. We're not giving you training. We're not giving you a budget, but you got to learn AI. And by the way, you can't use it on our stuff. So like, how are we supposed to do this? So there's this disparity going on right now that I think individuals are ready for AI and excited, but they either don't have the ability to use it internally or the time or money or whatever the case might be. But the up and ups are saying, hey, let's get going with AI, but they don't know how, they have no plan and all that kind of stuff. So it's fascinating to see that difference and change. The other side of I would say, is that there's just such a sheer overwhelm with like tools launching like crazy all over the place. Models come out like Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT. One of them is having an update literally every single week. So keeping up with it is extremely overwhelming. So between the pressure of work and people saying you got to get better faster and AI changes, it's becoming insanely overwhelming. That's why I always say start with where you are. Don't worry about trying to become the AI expert overnight. You're not going to. And even if you tried, you're not going to make it because it just goes too fast. But focus where you are and to build out AI workflows or automations where you are, and you'll see big differences quickly.
Yeah, it's funny. We often talk to people about this stuff and we're like, you're okay. Wherever you're at right now, you're
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
And
right.
One thing that's really interesting to me, though, is in your report, if you guys haven't checked it out, the Go-to-Market AI 2025 report, really interesting. 84% of go-to-market leaders are saying that AI is a strategic priority. And I think that's coming from the top too. The CEOs are really pushing that as a strategic priority, but only 24% are using it daily. So if you took away the folks that are not allowed to use it, where do you think the disconnect is between the folks that can?
I think people are overconfident in what they think they can do with it. We don't have a lot of examples of people using it really well. There's a big separation. You'll see on LinkedIn people posting crazy automation flows. If you're a beginner and just used to prompting ChatGPT, it's a different world. I have people come to me and say, I use AI every day. That's good. You also drive every day, but you're not a NASCAR driver. There's nothing wrong with that. It just means you haven't gone through the training. People think that because they use it every day, that's enough and they're good at it. I'm like, well, there's a whole world that you got to really dedicate yourself to, but most people can't because you're busy doing your sales job or your customer success job. Or that's why I'm always telling enablement people or leaders that it's incumbent upon them to make sure the enablement is such that someone can actually apply it and get good benefit out of it. It's not realistic to expect everyone to become a prompt engineer. So either tech's got to make that happen or the leader's got to give the space for it to happen. Momentum, that's one of the things we talk about a lot, is that we don't want people to have to worry about the adoption cycle because that's the biggest pain in the neck for tech, is like adopting yet another tab or tech or something. And AI in general should be the ones that's the least needed to be adopted because it should work where you are versus having to go to it. So there's some key differences and shifts that are changing.
You mentioned when you talk to teams, you're like meeting them where they are. But for teams that want to start but are feeling overwhelmed, where would you typically recommend they focus first?
Genuinely speaking, I would give them access to my GPT and say, go have a conversation with this. I made a GPT that answers this question and says, okay, what's your job? What's your task? And it's trained on being able to identify what's most important and impactful, and then suggesting based on their level of comfort with AI or automations to say, okay, if you're brand new to AI, here's the things you should do right now. And it takes it by their job tasks and says, you can do this with AI. And in the GPT's opinion, it will say, this is the number one thing you should do now. And you focus on that. And then you start going down the path and start knocking it off. I always tell people, and this probably comes from my life coaching days, but when you try to lose 50 pounds, you don't focus on the 50 pounds, you focus on the first 5. Then you go to the next 5. Then it's the same thing. You can't think about, I'm going to automate everything in my business. Like, it's insanely overwhelming to think that. It's thinking, what is the thing that's going to help me the most right now? And then focus on that instead of trying to eat the elephant swing, it doesn't work very well. A lot of people are getting this pressure of Shopify CEOs saying, apply everything to AI. They're like, where do I start? Instead of just saying, I'm going to start here. This is the most important, most impactful thing. I'm going to get this good, and then I'll move on to the next thing. That's the thing that most people aren't doing. So you doing just that, you'll be farther ahead.
The other thing that folks really struggle with is because there are so many tools, it's almost if I just use all these tools, I'm AI proficient in a way. But as we all know, it's not about tools. You've mentioned in the past, you have a mental model that's trust, education, and intent. Would you walk us through that?
So trust, education, intent. When you say trust, I'm assuming you mean trust on all levels. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Trust, intent in general. I'll just talk about trust because it's a fascinating topic. We're talking to a lot of companies that are massive in size and even smaller ones. And whether it's in prompt engineering with beginners or even massive companies trying to apply an AI across the tech, the single most common thread is trust. And trust can take on many layers. Could be SOC 2 compliance and data security and governance. It could be the output of the AI. It could be trusting that the human understands enough to do things. It's like there's trust on multi-factors. When I tell people about trust, it's like when you're looking at tech, can you trust what you're putting into it? Number one, is it safe? Is it secure? Is there zero data retention policy with OpenAI as an example? It basically means that there's absolutely no training whatsoever. And that is a unique agreement that not everyone with an API has. You have to especially apply for it and get it. Momentum does. A few other people do. It's not common. But it's a question you need to ask vendors when you go into a technology saying something like, do you have a zero retention data policy with your AI vendors? Because if they don't, you need to know what is going on with the data. SOC 2 is another one. Governance, how do I know what's going on? What happened to the data going in? Then the question is, what's coming out? As a prompt engineer, I spend a lot of time making sure that the prompts can produce the results I'm looking for consistently without having issues or problems. That's not an easy thing to do because it means you have to have usually monster prompts that guide an AI of how to respond. And again, most people don't know that. They don't know the nuanced rules around prompting. So the results you get back are not always consistent or the same, and therefore they don't trust the output because they don't know how to prompt. Lastly, everyone has a different level of trust with the humans. So there's people on your team who you may or may not trust a lot. Then you add AI onto it and you're like, I don't know if this person can really understand how to push the AI to what you need to get. So it's like all these things need to be mitigated. This takes time. And hopefully the goal would be that you can trust the governance security side of the AI tech. You can trust the output of it. And hopefully it's something where the human does not have to do a whole lot with it. It's more of like human in a loop versus human in the steering wheel.
The education makes a lot of sense. Would love to get the intent piece.
I'm actually going to say one thing about education, which is fascinating, is that in the report we had that a signal for AI tech purchase is education. So you can know if someone's about to buy an AI tech because they're looking into education, which I thought that nugget is kind of fascinating. This kind of goes into a lot of different nuances, but AI is getting really good at understanding intent of different things. You could talk about it from a marketing point of view. So if someone puts in Perplexity or ChatGPT or Gemini or any tech that has access to the internet, someone could put in a mediocre sentence and AI is trying to understand the intent of what the human is trying to communicate, and then goes out to the marketplace into the internet and tries to find something that has the same intent of writing to capture the intent of the person going. So now in marketing, I don't just talk SEO keywords. I talk, what intention am I trying to match with this article, which is different than keywords. I have to match intent versus match keyword. Just that alone, understanding what is my intent with this AI, the more clear you can be with your intent and be overly communicative, the better results you get back.
Jonathan, there's a quote you said that you really love. Is the best teams don't use the most AI, they use the most intentionally. And I'm curious how you've seen that in practice.
I feel like it's really easy to feel pressure because of all the reasons we've already said. I have a lot of people who say, what AI tech should I go get? I think that's the worst question to start with. It should be, what are we trying to accomplish? What's the prioritized outcome we're going for? And what is our gap or the pains we're experiencing while trying to get there? So teams that are able to identify what is the prioritized problem that is aligned to business outcome, and based off of that are very intentional on making sure that they leverage tech in a way that hits their goals, are the best ones that hit their goals usually. The other way around is that people feel this pressure around everyone's using AI, I should go get AI. And even if the tech is absolutely awesome, they don't get the results they want because they don't know what they're trying to impact in the first place. Or another example is AI SDRs. It's something that's a very hot topic right now. And I've seen a lot of teams roll out an AI SDR and failed, not because the tech didn't work, but because they didn't have the information that the tech needed to operate correctly. What's my go-to-market motion? What's my sales process? What's my ICP? What's their pains? Where do I usually find them? All this stuff that AI needs to be trained, they don't have identified, and they think the AI SDR is going to break some fundamental flaw in their system. It's not. It's just going to reveal it. But they blame the AI and say, this is crappy. We're going to get something better. That's not the AI. It's the same thing with prompting. People say the prompt stuff I'm getting back is horrible. It's not the AI, it's you. Like AI is the best self-reflective tool out there, because if you're not getting what you want, most of the time it's your fault. It's my fault as a person. It's not the AI. So going back to intentional, it's understanding the limitations of AI, but also being very prescriptive on what it can or cannot do, and then letting it do its thing and let go a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's right. The other thing, kind of going back to the tooling, is there could be a lot of AI bloat, and it leads to some, you talk about the AI SDR, if you don't have the mechanisms on the back end, it can expose some gaps in your go-to-market strategy. But I'm curious, a lot of folks just add these AI tools to try to solve different problems. How do the savviest leaders prevent that and focus on the outcomes?
It's a good question, because it's, when you say leaders, you mean leaders like trying to enable frontline people with a ChatGPT, or do you mean like an AI tech that goes across the team?
I think it's a little of both. There's leaders who are finding point solutions, and then there are those workflow type tools that can accomplish the latter. I'm curious how you think about it.
There's two approaches. One is the bottomed up, and I think it's very powerful to give people access to a team's version of ChatGPT or Gemini. I think you should be enabling your team with something. Even if they're mediocre, being able to do something faster is better. I would also enable them with education around it. If you can get someone even 10% better with AI than you are now, it makes a big impact on their workflows. That's if you don't automate anything. If all they do is just prompt. Having a little bit of nuance to help people would make a big difference. It's number one. But the real impact comes from using the tech that can make a bigger impact on the bottom line with business, profit, costs, revenue, customer happiness, that kind of stuff. Leaders who understand that and drive that, both the company who said, learn AI, but you have no tooling, no training, no process, no time, no nothing. That's bad leadership. People who know where this thing's coming. Like for me, I'll give you an example. I could take a team of 10 SDRs and reduce them down to 2 and have them do the same amount of work that the 10 used to do. I would rather keep all 10 and times 10 them. So instead of having 2 doing the work of 10, I have 10 doing the work of 100. So it's part of it's a mindset shift of understanding what is actually important and thinking, yes, there is expense here, but what can I do to really amplify the human talent I have, versus trying to just reduce headcount and cost. I think you should be looking at dollars in the last end, but there's just all this pressure. I think people need to have a longer term view of what's actually going to help the business, which is the people. If you push your people to be the best they can be, you'll have more than enough outcomes to mitigate any cost.
I think you're seeing that with some companies who had an AI first strategy and announced it early on. And now you see that they're hiring back.
Klarna do that. They did that with their customer support. They got rid of a bunch of customer support people, and a month and a half ago started hiring people back. It's a classic example.
What is a common oh no moment when go-to-market teams start experimenting with AI?
Oh my gosh. Like I'll give you an example. When I go into a team and I'll have a Series B, Series C, Series D company that has not yet really found out what their sales process should be or exit criteria. And then they want to automate stuff, and it creates just a mess. It creates a lot of problems. For example, if you don't have your fundamentals in place, AI is just going to speed up the chaos you already have, and it makes it bad. No one was going, oh shit, we have all this data that we did, it's wrong because of our own stuff. That's a big one. AI can thrive when it's able to communicate across the board. So now you have MCP and agent type stuff. There's all these things coming out, but our infrastructure of tech was not ever meant to let every technology talk to each other. Like it is to an extent, but it's not. And so now a lot of the oh no moments is coming from, oh crap, we have all this data, all these different places, but there's no easy way to connect it and let the AI thrive. That's another moment that pretty much everyone I think is going through right now. I'm pretty sure everyone has that. When people put a little too much trust into humans with AI prompting, you need to be very careful with this, because people think they know what they're doing and then they prompt horrible and they get outputs and like, what in the world you just send to the CEO? I get messages myself where I'm like, okay, I know this is AI. Like I live and breathe AI. Like it's fine if you use AI, but be a little bit creative. Come on. And I can only imagine how many teams are going through that.
Yeah.
I think along those lines, if you think about folks that are just starting to dip their toes in the water and some of the early adopters that are out there, maybe the hesitant team, what's one story where a team has really shifted their mindset
Yeah, I think that mindset comes first. The funny thing is that too many times the tools come in, but the mindset doesn't. I call them the 4 or 5 C's. A couple of mindset things are super critical. Number one is creative. You got to let your team be creative in how they apply things. You can find some really cool, fun stuff. A lot of the things I do in AI has come from me just asking the question, I wonder if I can do this, but it means I have to be creative and have the space to fail because sometimes it doesn't work. And that's okay though, because I'm able to be critical enough. So two things go hand in hand, creative and critical. So I'm not critical of myself or others. I'm critical of the AI. I want to push it to be the best it can be. And then collaborative, like being able to mix your minds. This all takes mindset sharing and giving the space to let people play together with AI and see what results they get and to experiment and all this stuff. So creative, critical, collaborative. There's probably one more C. I'll come back to me in a second. But coachable. And that's just being willing to learn because I'm an AI. I know experts and even the experts are saying it's so hard to keep up and you have to be moldable. And if you're not willing to be coachable and to learn, like anything you learn this week is going to be expired by next week anyway. So you got to be in this constant shift of learning and changing. Humans as a general whole aren't used to that. I've been in a mode of where I'm changing things all the time, even prompting. I'm like, this used to work, but now it doesn't because I'm in 03 or 04 or I'm in a different technology. So if you have those 4 things from a mindset perspective, you'll be great. But if you don't, you're going to struggle a lot. And I'll say that double for leaders. They've got to be willing to let go of some of that control. Otherwise, if they don't that creative, critical, collaborative, and then coaching come in, including me as a leader, I saw back in October, Deloitte released a report around board members of massive companies all the way down to Series B stuff. And the biggest thing was they weren't even talking about AI. And not only were they not talking about AI, none of them had even used AI. So these people who are making the decisions of having AI inside these massive companies aren't even touching it. And my opinion is, if you've never touched ChatGPT, don't tell me what I should be doing with AI. You're not the person to be talking to. So I think all those mindset skills go across the board for everybody, because otherwise the dinosaurs are going to be overthrown and extinct very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's right. I always think about curiosity as being the thing for and hire for even. It's like you want to have that thirst. And I think the AI piece, I like the 4 C's you have. I think creative kind of.
I'll take yours. I'll tag it on. Number 5 is curiosity. I love it. Look.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been talking to some leaders who their board is saying, you need to worry about the risks of AI. And I talked to ChatGPT and it told me this, and that's not right. I was like, congratulations, here's your prize, Mr. Board Member.
Yeah.
But you're right. People who aren't using it and being curious, the perspective is going to date them and leave them behind at some point. I very much agree.
Yeah.
I want to talk about another tension, the relationship between sales and marketing. As you think about helping teams move forward, implementing AI from a go-to-market perspective, how do you connect those two teams from a working perspective when sales want speed and they want pipeline and marketing has other priorities and AI is kind of caught in the middle?
My honest opinion is I'm a marketer and my number one priority is pipeline revenue. So I think if some marketers saying it's not that, then they're not the right marketer. It's just my opinion. Now, with that being said, I think there's 2 different states to talk about. There's the current state and then the future state. So if everyone's not aligned to the main business outcomes, then they shouldn't be in go-to-market leadership, personally. Like when I was enablement, I wasn't even marketing. My number that I got bonused on was revenue and pipeline. So I think everyone across the board, I don't care what your position is, if you're working with the revenue team, you should be tagged to the revenue and pipeline number, period. With that being said, does marketing have other priorities like SEO? Yes, but it's all for the end goal of pipeline. I also think that I'm a little bit different because I'm not a historical marketer. I'm like a RevOps / enablement / marketer at one place with momentum. So I dive into the numbers all the time. I'm looking at how is the lead source converting through each stage? How is the actual customer closing and how they're behaving after the close? So my marketing is more about what is the lifetime value and lifetime journey of the customer versus just MQL. I think that's one of the problems with marketing we got to get over. It's about the whole entire cycle and lifetime of a customer. It's not just getting you ops in the door. It's like, how are they converting? Are they selling? Because if I bring you a ton of MQLs and none of them convert, what the crap am I doing? On the sales side, they also need to make sure that it's a delicate balance, because I've seen a lot of people in a lot of different companies. I've only been on one team where I've had maybe 2 people be really good at discovery, but most of them are horrible. So I could bring the warmest, best lead into most teams. Unless they're ready to buy, do a mediocre job of selling and they can get it through, but most of them are just horrible at it. My job is to bring people who are warm and aware of the company, their job is to capture and move it forward. Like, it's not always going to be a perfect set. Sometimes it can be super warm, sometimes it's not. So salespeople absolutely have to be ready to obviously take the easy ones, but then being willing to work and show value where it can be. The nice AI helps both sides very easily. Now, with that being said, I'm going to shift to the future sake, because I think this is where it's going to get interesting. Sam Altman and a bunch of other people have talked about how sometime there's going to be some sort of one-person billion-dollar valuation company. We're not there yet. I have a friend of mine. He owns Swan AI. His name's Amos. He has 3 founders, and their goal is to get to $30 million with 3 people and only AI agents. In that world, we have a tech person, sales and marketing, and then customer. That's it. So, but I don't know if every technology, every team is going to get there, because that's going from a team of 10,000 to 3 is not possible. But I think in general, you will start to see this shrinkage of particular roles, not necessarily meaning that person can't stay in the company, but it'll shift what they do. It could be that an SDR goes from being an SDR to an AI agent manager. Something, or the sales and marketing team goes from 10 on the marketing team and 50 on the sales team to 5 on marketing and then 20 on the sales team. So it doesn't mean they're gone from the team. It just means the role itself is not as much needed. I think it's just going to shift where that goes. And when that shifts, and if things get closer and smaller, I think that leadership will then shrink as well, because then you don't need as much leadership to manage all the different people. So then marketing and sales have the conflict as much, because it'll be 1 person instead of 2 with the same number, which is revenue and pipeline. That's it.
You hear about Microsoft eliminating manager positions. They're looking for something different from managers. They're looking for them to be player coaches who understand AI and the limitations, but also what's possible, creativity. They're not just looking for people to make sure that employees are doing their job and giving them a performance review once a year.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, one of the things I picked up when you and I have talked is some leaders say that AI is going to replace the human element. But when I talk to you, I actually feel the opposite, that it's going to create more opportunity for people to show up and do work differently.
Yes.
What does that look like in a high functioning go-to-market organization?
This is my opinion in general, which I don't work with companies unless they share something similar. I believe humans are the source of relationship and excellence, not for data entry, not for data sourcing, not for manual data typing work. They're here for relationships, for connection, and for their brain power. If any company, whether buying or selling AI tech, does not align with that, they're not my kind of people. I think we're in a world where we haven't experienced what AI could or could not be doing with us as buyers and as sellers. So an example would be a house. Imagine a world where our AI is like Jarvis. Jarvis can take us through a guide of this $1 million house in Southern California. While I'm in New York City, going through a hologram, shows me all the stuff, shows me all the data. Do I then need to have a real estate agent do me that for me? No. Would I be opposed to having that happen? No. Like, I'm not that connected to a real estate agent that I'd be like, I have to work with real estate agents. That's me personally. I have good friends who are real estate agents, but I'm like, I don't really care as long as I get a good house and good deal. So I think that we're going to go through this time where people are going to experiment with seeing, what do I like with AI and what do I not like with AI as buyers? And so you're going to see the swing, a pendulum of saying people will push things too much, kind of like Klarna and the customer support, where they say, we're going to put AI everywhere. And they realize humans don't like that. Swing back, get more humans. I'm saying with real estate agents, maybe someone launches a holographic Jarvis level real estate agent seller thing that goes great. So they save money and it goes awesome. I don't think we know, but I do know that people will start to realize, you'll start to have people who will say, I will only use a human for this, or I'll only use AI for this, because it's something like buying strawberries. I don't care if I talk to a strawberry expert, and some people do. This is such a fascinating topic. I love this topic so much, so I could get on for this for a while. I'll try to give you an example, hopefully make this more real. I can use HeyGen to mimic my avatar, my voice, my video. I use 11 Labs to copy my voice. I use ChatGPT or Claude to copy my writing. I can mimic with AI, everything. So that means the value of me becomes more important and more impactful. If I can create an avatar that people can talk to, as people with AI girlfriend options getting paid lots of money to talk to their AI girlfriend, which is insane to me, but it's happening. So what's the value of their actual person? So think about that as Michael Jordan. If he had an AI avatar, you could talk to any question you wanted. I think that'd be cool. Honestly, I'd access that. But what's the value then of actual Michael Jordan? Way higher than his AI avatar. So the value of us as people and my own brain, my own thoughts is supremely important, because all AI does is amplify it. So I see a world where I'll have this agent AI infrastructure team that's like my Iron Man suit, that I can go into any workplace and I can plug in to the tech. And the only way they can get what I can do is my AI tech that's trained on me, which means that my stuff becomes really important because it's trained on my thoughts, my original thinking, So if you as a salesperson, you as a leader, you as a marketer have unique things, this is why you got to be with AI, because there's going to come a world where you'll have this AI agent bot army thing. You can plug into existing technology and have all this cool stuff happen that only you as an expert can have because of your experience, your thoughts, your IP. So that's where I think things are going to get really exciting. Human made anything, like human music. I'm a musician. I don't see a world where I could have an AI robot give me the same feeling live that I would have from some of my favorite concert people. Maybe it will, but even then it's going to be a different experience listening to Jarvis play his music versus Paul McCartney. It's not going to be the same. So the value of humans is going to go up. The question is, what do you have that you're passionate about, that you're knowledgeable about, that you're geek out all the time, and you can use AI as the amplifier instead of thinking, I'm a good writer, so AI is going to replace me. It could theoretically, but you think about all the greatest writers in the world. If I had access to an AI agent that could write like Oscar Wilde, would I pay for that? Yes. It's like, where's the value? I just think it's going to amplify us more than replace us.
Yeah, I agree. I think it elevates what we can focus on. We're spending all this time thinking about or logging interactions in Salesforce, but even to your point, I love that the Iron Man suit coming in. How close do you think we're to that Iron Man plugin for most organizations? And what do you think could change to accelerate it?
MCP is just starting to catch on. I'm seeing more and more people use it. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens before the end of the year. And then agent to agent just launched a month ago, 2 months ago. So most people haven't gotten that, but that's going to spread. And I would guess that most technologies, Microsoft, Amazon, most of the big stuff are going to adapt to something like that, because if they don't, they're going to get eradicated. And most companies will try to do the same thing. I would hope that in the next year, probably 2 years max for some slower moving orgs, you'll have something like that in place. And also probably within the next year, maybe year and a half, you have the ability to where I could have a personalized AI tech. If I had my GPT team, sometime there's gonna be a world where I can plug in that GPT team to a technology and amplify myself. Instead of me working for one company, I contract with 5, and they all have access to my IP that I check in an hour a day with 5 companies. But we're not there yet. It's going to require a lot of shifts and changes. I say a year, maybe 2, because so many companies are so far behind. I can't tell you how many times I've done a consulting gig with someone and they said, yeah, we just rolled out Gemini or ChatGPT, and this is the first time our team has had something like this year in 25. Where have you been? Why is this the first time you're doing this? Happens all the time. I have to keep remembering I'm a little bit farther ahead. I push the envelope and most people don't. But a lot of people are just so far behind. With the ease of more technology becoming real, it'll be easier to do that, which means bigger organizations can do it faster and they'll just cycle on top of itself.
I'm super curious to see what happens, because there's some recent data worth diving into. It talks about 70% of proof of concepts that businesses do with their own models fail. So if they're not looking at Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT, they're struggling. And then you're also seeing organizations who implemented Copilot or ChatGPT taking it away from their employees because they're not seeing enough of a business impact. So I'm curious to see, some organizations are going to keep moving forward, and I think some are going to actually stall a little bit, maybe regroup on their strategy. Johnson just announced a couple of weeks ago that they're pulling back.
I know why Copilot's, at least the current version, is a horrible version of AI. No one's getting benefit out of it. It drives me crazy, but keep going.
No, yeah, I think it's a really valuable point. So to wrap things up, we always love to do a rapid fire round. So are you ready for questions?
Let's go.
What's one AI tool you love that doesn't get enough credit?
Oh, man.
Okay. You got to type that in for us because we'll put it in the notes.
SU, I'm a music creator. I'm a music nut. I love it.
I
Okay.
used that last night.
It's awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah.
What's something you used to believe about AI that you completely changed your mind about?
Man, but probably I told you before that if AI can't do it right, it's the AI. I switched since. It's me. I'm the person. I'm the one.
What's one prompt or trick you find yourself using over and over again with AI?
I'll give you 3 really quick ones. 1 is structure and format, making sure it's formatted correctly with titles. 2 is using hashtags to help the AI know the hierarchy of importance. 3 is words. Words have power. So if I say something like rules versus law, that means something to AI. Understanding those 3 things alone will get you a lot farther than most with prompting.
What's one trend in go-to-market that's overrated, and what's one that's underrated?
Oh, man. I think overrated is writing emails with AI or automating anything with emails. I think it's just overdone. And then underrated, I think, is just how awesome it is to do some basic stuff. Like, for example, if I say something like, if I have to go train a team on MedPick and I apply it to their company, just throwing into ChatGPT and getting this cool mixture of things together is just so awesome. It still blows my mind how good it is. So I think it's underrated and people don't talk about it enough.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That wraps us up for today. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. We learned a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
What'd you think of our conversation with Coach K?
I enjoyed it. I think the thing that I learned the most about Coach K was the idea of creating this Iron Man suit to plug into these go to market motions. And that to me really resonated because I think that the way that we're building these agents to talk to each other and with MCPs and all this new stuff coming out that's going to help with automation, having that human at the helm that can augment these plug and play solutions is going to create a lot more value for folks that have really good ideas. So that's what I learned. What about you, Ken?
Yeah, so I was really impressed by what he was talking about with Relevance AI. I've been working to build agents and been struggling through the journey a little bit, but making some progress in some key areas.
Awesome. I wanted to thank our guest, Coach, for coming on the show. Really interesting insights. And I wanted to thank all of you listening or watching, however you're consuming our content. Please send us feedback. What do you want to hear? What do you like? What don't you like? And any recommendations of people you want us to talk to.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. That really helps us get our voice out there. And we really appreciate all of the feedback we've already been getting from listeners. It's really helped us map out the second season so far. And we're really excited to show you some other things based on what we are hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching, and let's keep crafting the future of go-to-market together. Bye. Chill, chill.